Throne of Blood is near the top of my list of best Shakespeare on film. And yes, I'm the guy who ranks Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet and Fen Xiaogang's The Banquet up there with Branagh's Henry V. So, you see me rolling.
Scorn. Contempt.
I've expressed my admiration for 10 Things I Hate About You and the Moonlighting Taming of the Shrew episode, and the stage play version of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Less excited about The Lion King, but 100 million butts in seats probably means I'm wrong. I generally have a problem with literary adaptations that disregard the language of the original. I stopped the 2013 Romeo and Juliet halfway through, despite my admiration for both Haley Steinfeld and Paul Giamatti, because of all the dumbed-down language.
Juliet is a Capulet. The Montagues and Capulet are mortal enemies.
At the time of writing this, there's an adaptation of Cyrano de Bergerac at one of Pasadena's best theaters, and despite it being one of my favorite plays, I just can't get the energy up to go see it, because they shifted Rostand's perfect play to be spoken word poetry, and that's a genre I enjoy. I shout out to the poets laureate of my hometown Pomona, and sure, I could see Cyrano as a spoken word artist, and I admit this is a personal hang-up, but if it ain't broke, just don't fix it. And if you do, run as far as you can from the original. Throne of Blood does exactly that. It disregards Shakespeare's language, one of his undisputed strengths, and substitutes what Kurosawa was the master of, visual storytelling. Gone is
double, toil and trouble.
And also,
something wicked this way comes.
Instead, we get an insanely creepy witch in an isolated hut who doesn't need to speak a word to freak us out. Lady Macbeth loses her famous satanic prayers, unsex me here and out damn spot, and instead sits almost paralyzed like a subservient wife. Her stillness becomes disturbing. As author Stephen Prince points out in The Warrior's Camera, Kurosawa's view of life here, as in Ran, his gigantic retelling of King Lear, is even more pessimistic than Shakespeare's. It's hard to imagine a world more dire than King Lear's, but Ran really manages. Throne of Blood brings the contrast into the light even more. In Macbeth, a man is tempted to betray his master, and a series of murders follow, King David-like, to cover up his crime. Macbeth is an aberration of human nature, egged on by his power-hungry wife, who screams that she wants demonic forces to remove the weight of her gender so she could be free to murder King Duncan herself, dubious that her husband can handle the job. He's just too pure, too loyal, too conflicted to follow the instructions of the three fates, the Hecate, on his own. In Throne of Blood, Lord Washizu is primed to carry out the murder, hinted at by a lone witch and nudged gently by his impassive wife. Yes, she still has to finish the job for him, but as Prince suggests, murdering your superiors is par for the course in this version of medieval Japan. Washizu's treason is the norm, and when his own men turn on him for a collective assassination, it surprises no one, including Washizu. On the surface, doing Shakespeare without any Shakespeare in it seems like the worst idea ever. The bard himself took stories and plays others had written and spun them into genius. Without Holinshed and Ovid and Plutarch, we'd have no Shakespeare. Kurosawa, for his part, had the brilliance to see inimitable Western classics and imitate them. We did it right back at him, so that's all fair. Shakespeare just had a good nose for stories. Maybe he was at a happy place where stories were just pouring in from across Europe, but just imagine Shakespeare as an agent, buried under potential scripts and somehow finding the time to sort through them and select the Hamlet, the Cleopatra, the Henry IV. Kurosawa had that same nose. He saw foreign narratives and rooted out the most timeless and universal. So what is Shakespeare without Shakespeare? Kurosawa. His Throne of Blood captures the spirit of Macbeth and is one creepy, bloody movie.
Imana